Welcome, my dear viewers. Thank you for being with my channel and watching my videos. I'm telling you a story from my life. Watch this video to the end. You will understand what I'm telling you, so as not to miss my new videos. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your explanations in the comments. Then let's go.
Why is this unattractive girl still residing in her parents' home? Your appearance is such a bother, so could you kindly vacate this house immediately? Clearly, you don't belong here. Pack your things now and return to your parents' house. About a month after my husband passed away, I found myself living in and caring for my mother-in-law. These harsh words were directed at me by the two individuals. Had I done something wrong? All I've been doing is helping out by contributing $3,000 a month for rent. But if they consider me a nuisance, I'll leave the house as they wish. 1 month later. I apologize sincerely for everything so far. Please forgive me, my mother-in-law said on her knees, tears streaming down her face. However, apologies alone wouldn't resolve the issue. I decided to share a surprising revelation with her. It had been a year since I married my husband and began living in my in-laws' house. Last month, my husband and I, who had met through mutual friends, discovered our shared love for camping and quickly hit it off. We both enjoyed various outdoor activities, leading to our marriage. Now I was living together with my mother-in-law, who had been alone since my father-in-law's passing 3 years ago. Welcome back. The meat and potato stew you cooked was delicious. I ate it all. Thank you for cooking every day. My mother-in-law expressed her gratitude. I responded, "You're welcome. As long as I live in this house, I'll help out as much as I can." This commitment was something my husband had advised me to follow. However, my father-in-law's death had taken a toll on my mother-in-law, causing her significant mental and physical stress. Known for being a loving couple, my in-laws had a strong bond, and my husband had been deeply concerned about his mother's well-being. We started dating, frequently visited the in-laws, and I actively tried to build a positive relationship with my mother-in-law. She was a genuinely kind person, financially stable due to her inheritance, and there were no conflicts between us. Despite the stereotypes about conflicts between mothers-in-law and daughters-in-law, a real parent-child bond formed between us, and her smile gradually returned. My husband and I both worked, enjoying a decent income. Understanding his concern for his mother, we contributed $3,000 a month as rent. However, life always brings its challenges. "Hey, I'm a bit short on living expenses this month. Can you help me out with some money?" My mother-in-law asked. Perplexed, I questioned, "What did you spend it all on?" She explained, "My kid wants to learn piano, but the class fee was more expensive than I thought. After paying it, our living expenses got tight. Please help me, I'm begging you." Having heard a similar story last month, I couldn't help but intervene, suggesting, "If you're spending on your child, have you considered ways to save on your living expenses?" My sister-in-law frowned unhappily at my interference. Unexpectedly, my husband's response caught me off guard. He had been quietly listening, but then he spoke up sternly, telling my sister-in-law, "You're an adult now. Stop relying on your parents and figure things out for yourself." Although she looked displeased, my sister-in-law began to avoid the topic of money. Despite not living with us, my sister-in-law seemed to have become more demanding for money, especially since our father-in-law passed away. While my father-in-law was frugal, my mother-in-law was more lenient with money. Like his siblings, my husband had always been kindly treated, and his requests for money were often granted. However, my husband emphasized, "I understand the desire to be kind to one's children, but they're adults now. They need to fend for themselves." My mother-in-law appeared conflicted about this, but perhaps it was inevitable to show kindness to her remaining family. Yet my sister-in-law's attitude seemed exploitative, demanding large sums of money. Since we started living in my husband's family home, he took over managing the finances. One day, As I went to work as usual, my husband, feeling unwell, had gone to the hospital in the morning. Initially thinking it was just a cold, I received a call from him during lunch. Shockingly, it wasn't just a cold. They found cancer during the tests. It seemed to be quite advanced, and they informed me he had about a year left to live. His words left me speechless, and panic set in. My thoughts froze, and after standing still for a while, reality hit me hard. I rushed to the hospital where my husband was. At that time, he still had enough strength to converse normally. However, as the treatment continued, his strength weakened, and after 6 months, he could hardly talk. 7 months later, struggling to breathe, my husband tried his best to convey something important to me. The content of his words was surprising and left me in shock. I spent several days absorbed in those thoughts, but a week later, my husband passed away. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't grasp what was really happening. After his passing, I was busy with the funeral week and settling his affairs. Days passed, and just when I thought I could finally start to come to terms with my husband's death, an unexpected incident occurred. "I have something to talk about. Is now a good time?" I asked. "Of course. What would you like to talk about?" she replied. "How much did you hear from my brother?" I inquired. "Actually, I heard that a spot opened up in a very popular nursing home that's hard to get into. Why don't we consider admitting Mom there? My brother is no longer here, and taking care of that old lady must be a hassle for you, right?" My sister-in-law's smirk about this topic made my heart clench. To bring up such a subject right after my husband's death felt insensitive. But looking into her eyes, I could tell she was serious. "This house is too big for just that old woman. Don't you think it's a waste if my family and I live here? You can live alone without any worries. I think it's the best choice for everyone," she suggested. While my sister-in-law didn't say it explicitly, her remarks gave the impression that she had been eagerly awaiting my husband's death. The way she trivialized my husband's passing and her disdainful attitude towards my mother-in-law were intolerable. When I firmly declined her suggestion, my sister-in-law left the house in a bad mood. Originally, it seemed she viewed my mother-in-law as a convenient source of money, so her attitude was not surprising. However, I was honestly shocked by her blatant actions. I had no intention of letting my sister-in-law have her way, nor did I plan to put my mother-in-law in a nursing home. But an event a week later shook my resolve. Upon returning from work, I found my mother-in-law glaring at me angrily, with my sister-in-law smirking beside her. "I'm disappointed in you. I want you to leave this house. How dare you plan to put someone in a nursing home without consulting? What are you trying to do, take over the house?" my mother-in-law accused. "No, that's not my intention," I replied. "What do you mean? Why don't you just be honest? It was your proposal, wasn't it? You said to put Mom in a nursing home, sell this family home, and suggested we split the sale proceeds, didn't you?" "I never said such a thing," I protested. The one who wanted to send my mother-in-law to the nursing home was shocked by this unexpected betrayal. I struggled to speak but managed to express my thoughts. I was genuinely surprised and didn't anticipate such forceful tactics just because things weren't going her way. The pain and sadness enveloped me as my mother-in-law looked down on me as if I was worthless. "I don't consider you family anymore. Please leave this house right now," my mother-in-law shouted at me with rage on her face. "Understood. If that's what you want, I'll leave as you wish," I replied. Perhaps my sister-in-law had influenced her, but this was a clear betrayal for me, who had decided to continue caring for my mother-in-law in place of my husband. I quickly packed my things and decided to return to my parents' home. Needing to secure a new place to live after being unexpectedly asked to leave by my mother-in-law deeply wounded me. In response, I decided to take some time to rest at my parents' home. About a month later, I received a call. "Hello, is that you?" You withdrew money from our parents' account without permission, didn't you? Why is there not a single dollar left in the account? Accused my sister-in-law. Don't say such ridiculous things. Are you calling me a thief now? Pretending you don't know. If you keep doing this, I'll get the police involved. Come to our parents' house right now, she threatened before abruptly hanging up the phone. Caught in someone's conspiracy and now accused of theft. I had had enough. I anticipated issues with the mortgage of the family home, and there must still be several years of payments left unpaid. I didn't have the time or energy to deal with my sister-in-law, but I had reasons why I couldn't cut ties. There was still a truth I had to reveal. With a heavy heart, I immediately headed to my in-laws' home. Just like the day I left, my mother-in-law glared at me, and my sister-in-law was there too, giving me the same accusatory look. Did he steal money from the house or withdraw it from the account? I don't know, but give it back quickly. You both were working, right? So, there must be a significant balance, right? Accused my sister-in-law. What are you talking about? There's nothing left of my father-in-law's inheritance. We've been burying all the living expenses and rent. Do you think the inheritance would cover everything? I explained. Really? My words left my sister-in-law looking at my mother-in-law in surprise. It was clear that there was an understanding between the two. My mother-in-law knew that we had been financially supporting the family home, but she probably thought that my father-in-law's inheritance would suffice for a while. However, the actual situation was quite different. Maybe in this situation, isn't my mother-in-law the victim? Mother-in-law, it was your daughter who was misusing father-in-law's inheritance, wasn't it? I confronted. At that moment, my mother-in-law's expression changed dramatically. There was an air of confusion, as if she couldn't grasp what I was saying. However, I never lied to deceive others. The attitude of my sister-in-law made it clear that what I was saying was true. Her expression changed the moment the inheritance was mentioned, even though she had been glaring at me sharply before. I see through the schemes you've been plotting and the misdeeds you've been committing. Actually, my husband told me that since we started living together, he took over managing the household finances as he noticed that the inheritance supposed to be received by my mother-in-law had significantly decreased. He thought it was abnormal. Moreover, my sister-in-law's frequent and unusual financial requests to him seemed suspicious, so he confronted her. It turned out she had withdrawn cash from the inheritance without any permission. She was actually stealing. As I revealed this truth, my sister-in-law appeared completely confused, and my mother-in-law's anger immediately shifted towards her. My mother-in-law, who had been living modestly since my father-in-law's passing, didn't realize the gradual decrease in money and had not paid much attention to finances. However, my husband, being in accounting, was aware of even minor financial changes. This misdeed came to light when my husband confronted my sister-in-law. For my mother-in-law, her daughter remained precious, leading my husband to keep it a secret under the promise of repayment. The reason he sternly stopped her from borrowing money from my mother-in-law was because of this. I only learned about it a few days before my husband passed away. I was truly surprised when I heard about this from him, but it seemed to be the truth. To steal someone else's money, even if they are family, was a betrayal I couldn't comprehend. My mother-in-law's face became increasingly red with anger as she shouted, "What were you thinking? Can't you differentiate between what's right and what's wrong? Stop making excuses, you thieving cat." Though not someone who clung to money, my mother-in-law had a strict moral compass, especially harsh on acts of malice and betrayal. Her decision to disown me, seeing my act of sending her to a nursing home as a betrayal, was also based on these values. However, I had more to reveal. Also, the large amount of money you got by betraying your family was used for gambling, right? My sister-in-law pretended not to know, saying, "Wait a minute, what are you talking about?" I presented several photos from an envelope, showing my deceased husband's investigation that clearly captured my sister-in-law entering and exiting a casino. Your husband works for a foreign company, and you should be financially comfortable. My husband always wondered why you were so desperate for money. The investigation unexpectedly revealed your gambling addiction. Tell me, how enjoyable was it to gamble with someone else's money? I confronted her. As I continued, my mother-in-law accused me of stalking and dismissed the evidence. However, there was more. I revealed the text messages between me and my sister-in-law, showing her numerous links to nursing homes, serving as evidence of her scheming. You were really planning to abandon your own mother. That's not it. It's all a misunderstanding. Please just listen to my side of the story, my sister-in-law pleaded. As I spoke, my mother-in-law seemed to grasp the situation and looked at me sadly, realizing her mistake and apologizing. Her anger turned towards my sister-in-law. How selfish can you be to repay kindness with betrayal after all this time thinking of you as family? How do you see me? Don't mock me, she scolded my sister-in-law. However, before she could explain, there was a loud noise from the hallway as my sister-in-law's husband entered the room, apologizing for being late and revealing that he was asked to come by me. I left the house key open, allowing him to enter at any time. Surprised by the sudden appearance of my sister-in-law's husband, both were taken aback. I explained the situation, and they quickly understood that this issue wasn't just between me and my mother-in-law. It also affected my sister-in-law's husband. My sister-in-law's husband could easily access his salary and savings, raising further suspicions as she had been embezzling my mother-in-law's money. I had spoken to him in advance and arranged for him to hear the conversation via phone. I've been listening from the start. Enough with the excuses. Just admit your mistakes already. That's despicable. He sternly reprimanded her. But what you've done is a serious crime. I was shocked when I checked the bank account earlier. It was a big mistake to let you manage our finances. The atmosphere froze in an eerie silence due to the incredible anger of my sister-in-law's husband. Having said all he wanted to say, I decided not to intervene further and silently watched my sister-in-law's husband lecture her. His reprimands were so intense that it made me tremble just watching, but I didn't feel bad for her at all. I only thought about ensuring she repays the money and that she shouldn't assume this would be the end of it. The lecturing continued for a while, and eventually she knelt down to apologize to both me and my mother-in-law before leaving. According to my sister-in-law's husband, he had left the management of their household finances entirely to her, thinking they were saving and increasing their savings by cutting back on expenses. However, it turned out she was gambling away all the money saved. As her gambling intensified, she eventually incurred debts on her credit cards and began stealing money from my mother-in-law to pay them off. The moment someone addicted to gambling gets cash, they're unlikely to repay debts, instead trying to recover their losses, leading to more gambling. Currently, the total amount she owes from various sources is more than what she has stolen from her husband and mother-in-law. Her husband, upon learning about this, decided to divorce her but plans to make her work to repay the full amount for the money she stole and the child support she misused. Until then, he had no intention of divorcing her and was constantly monitoring her behavior, hoping for her to change herself. It seems like tough days are ahead for my sister-in-law. Later, my mother-in-law apologized to me for the misunderstanding, and we still meet for tea about once a month. Now that my husband has passed away, I want to maintain a good relationship with her, the mother who gave birth to him, and support her to the end.